أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين. Continuing with our discussion on Wilayah Takwiniyah and Istighatha. In the previous discussion we presented almost 7 definitions of Wilayah Takwiniyah, or some would say 7 different facets and aspects of Wilayah Takwiniyah. Before we continue with today's discussion, I just thought I provide you with 1 or 2 more sources for those of you interested in research, for those of you who wanted to refer to any other sources in regards to the definitions and see that how scholars discuss the different facets and the different aspects differently. Every scholar presents a different opinion and a different number. So the first source which I would like to provide is Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi's Payam Quran. You're aware that Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi has one tafsir which is a full tafsir of the whole Quran, and then the other tafsir he has is a subjective tafsir, topic-wise tafsir, which is called Payam Quran. So on volume 9 he presents 4 different facets or 4 different definitions for Wilayah Takwiniyah. Okay? As I said, and I've been keeping on repeating that because this is not an accepted issue within all the scholars, you will notice scholars have different numbers, different definitions, and different opinions on these issues. This is one book. A second book, which is an English book, and this is something which I wanted to introduce to you, though I don't endorse this book, nor do I endorse the author, okay? So I wanted to clarify before we get into explaining what this book is all about. The book is called Divine Guide in Early Shiism by Dr. Amir Ali Muizzi. Okay, he is a professor in Sorbonne University in France. Apparently, if I'm not mistaken, he is a student of Henry Corbin. For those of you who know Henry Corbin, he used to have discussions with Allama Tabatabai, and that's the book Shia Islam, which Allama Tabatabai has written, is basically a discussion which he had with Henry Corbin. Now, Henry Corbin's student apparently is Dr. Amir Ali Muizzi. Now, as I said, I don't endorse this book, but it's a good book for those of you who want to study early Shiism, okay? It's a book discussing early Shiism using sources. Now, you agree or disagree with the sources, but it's a good book to read for early Shiism. Now, the theory is proposing, as I said, the reason I don't agree with this is this. The theory the book is proposing, I'm very much presenting it in a very simple manner. A person needs to go through the whole book to be able to get the whole picture, but in a very simple, summarized manner. The theory of the book is this. See, he believes that Shia, the original Shiism, was Batini Shiism, esoteric Shiism. It's the likes of Sheikh Mufid and Sayyid Murtada who came and presented Zahiri Shiism, the exoteric Shiism, or what he calls the rational Shiism. This was something being presented by the likes of Sheikh Mufid and Sayyid Murtada. Before them, the real Shiism was the esoteric Shiism, the Batini. Okay, something similar to what the Ismailis have. Something very hidden, everything is on hidden concepts, yeah? And because a person who believes in Batini concepts, who believes in esoteric meanings, he thus is a very huge proponent of taqiyya, okay? In a lot of places, anybody who believes in Batini teachings, who believes in esoteric teachings, has to then accept taqiyya, because you can't expose the esoteric teachings to everybody. Esoteric teachings are to be taught to a very few, and thus taqiyya has to be presented in a very high manner, okay? And that's why I say I disagree with this book. Is one area is here. So the theory he is presenting that the likes of Sheikh Mufid and Sheikh Sayyid Murtada came and spoiled Shiism. These are my words, but this is the theory he's presenting, that the real Shiism was the Batini Shiism. They came and spoilt it by presenting the rational Shiism, the intellectual Shiism, okay? And number two, he's a proponent of tahrif of Quran, because he refers to those early books of hadith like Basair al-Darajat and Mahasin and Al-Kafi of Kulayni. Thus he comes up with the understanding that this muhaddithin used to believe in tahrif of Quran, that the Quran is incomplete and interpolated. He thus also believes in the same opinion. Okay, so these are his views, and that's why I said I disagree with his views. But on page number 16, he comes and discusses the qualities of the Imams. Okay, so he divides the qualities of the Imams into three categories, and then each of these three categories has subcategories. Okay, so one of the subcategories is the supernatural powers of the Imams. Do you get me? The discussion we are having of Wilayah Takwiniyah, the supernatural powers of the Imams. He divides it into 6 subcategories. Can you see that? Okay, he discusses 6 different facets and aspects of Wilayah Takwiniyah. This was just 2 books I wanted to present so that you can, for those of you who want to refer to these discussions even further. Now, coming back to today's discussion, what I want to discuss today is, you remember in our last lecture where we were defining Wilayah Takwiniyah, the last definition of Wilayah Takwiniyah which we presented, we said that Wilayah Takwiniyah, according to some scholars, is equal to miracles and kiramaat, the supernatural actions of the Imam. Okay, now this is what I want to discuss today, the whole issue of miracles. And if I can't finish the discussion today, inshallah in the next discussion, inshallah we've finished the discussion of the miracles. Now my apologies from the beginning. Some people might find these discussions getting more prolonged and prolonged. What I want us to do is have a very structured discussion on this topic, because it's a sensitive topic. I have been wanting to discuss things very gradually and very structurally and step by step, because I want us to reach to some kind of conclusions where we have clarity when we are concluding on this topic. Okay, what's happening at the moment is there's no real clarity when it comes to the whole issue of Wilayah Takwiniyah. Okay, so when we have clarity, and then whatever opinion we end up choosing, it's your prerogative, but at least I have clarified on the whole topic of what the topic is. You also have clarity on the topic. Okay, so because some scholars define Wilayah Takwiniyah as miracles and supernatural actions of the Imams, what we call kiramaat, I thought today we discuss the whole issue of miracles. That is reason number 1. Reason number 2, and this is the most important reason why I'm discussing this topic, is the reason because a lot of times you will notice that whenever you refer to theological books, the aqaid books which you refer to, whenever they're discussing Wilayah Takwiniyah, the initial proof they all will provide is miracles of the prophets in the Quran. Okay, they will tell you, see, the miracles performed by the prophets in the Quran are a proof of Wilayah Takwiniyah. Now, as we go further in subsequent discussions, when we're discussing the opinions, we'll make it clear that are miracles performed by the Prophet and the Imam, or the miracles are performed by Allah, the Prophet is just a vessel and a means. Okay, this is something we'll come and discuss it as we go further. But the reason I wanted to discuss is, you see, what's happening is the way, because whenever they want to use Wilayah Takwiniyah, they quickly refer to these miracles and say these miracles refer to Wilayah Takwiniyah for the prophets, and thus Wilayah Takwiniyah is proved. What I want to prove today is, and in the subsequent discussions, is this: no, the way the definition of Wilayah Takwiniyah is being presented today has no relationship with the discussion of miracles at all. And I will prove it as we go further. There's no relationship between the two, because the definition of Wilayah Takwiniyah being presented today is this, that Imam has control over the whole universe. He can do whatever he wants and whatever he wishes. Everything is under the control of the Imam. Okay, Imam meaning the Prophet and the Imam. And that's not the definition of miracle. Okay, as we come and see the definitions, you will notice this is not the definition of the miracles. Okay, so just to show you as an example, a lot of scholars do go through this path, which I personally disagree with this kind of reasoning and conclusions which they're taking. So for example, this is a small booklet called Master and Mastership by Atullah Mutahari. Okay, I have quoted this earlier, the Farsi version, Wila and Wilaha. Okay, so I got hold of this English book, so I said let me refer to this English book and show you how scholars are referring to this whole issue of Wilayah Takwiniyah under miracles. So on page number 68, notice now, okay? At this stage, so this is the discussion of Wilayah Takwiniyah now. At this stage, even external nature becomes subject to the will of man and obeys him. Can you see the definition he's trying to provide? Okay, as we go further, he will even make it clear. Now, look at how he is joining now miracles with Wilayah Takwiniyah. The miracles brought by the prophets and the saints come under this category. I hope you're getting me. Okay, can you see how he's linking Wilayah Takwiniyah to miracles? Okay, then he goes further. Though the issue of miracle requires extensive discussion, he goes further by saying that at present we propose to look at the issue of miracles from the viewpoint of Wilayah Takwiniyah. You're getting the connection now they're trying to do, which I disagree with, because there's no relationship in the conclusions they will take. Okay, so he goes further by saying what we want to stress upon is that a miracle is nothing but a manifestation of Wilayah Takwiniyah. Do you get me? Okay, can you see how they're linking miracles to Wilayah Takwiniyah? Now the conclusion he's taking is here now. Notice he says a miracle is brought by a prophet or a saint because he's granted a sort of special power. Okay, a miracle is a power given to the prophet or the imam to bring that miracle in place. Okay, now this conclusion is what I differ with. Okay, he says because he's been given that power and he can do the miracles. Now look at the conclusion. He says he can do with the universe whatever he likes with the permission of Allah. How do you conclude? This is what we are deferring to. Okay, we're deferring with. A prophet is given a miracle. When we come to define it, we will see a miracle is time-based, it's limited, it's place-based. Here, the conclusion they want to take from miracles is this, that the prophet and the imam can do whatever with the universe they wish. No, a miracle is not like that. A miracle is not what the prophet wishes he can do with the universe. No, okay? He's been given a very limited miracle. That's where he can do, that's where he can practice the miracle, nothing further. Okay? And that is why when they are stretching this scope, can you see what they're doing now? What they're doing is now, the scope, when they stretch it so much, so on page number 49, notice now, okay? This is exactly what we are having problems with. When you stretch this conclusion, he says we cannot determine exactly the limits of Wilayah Takwiniyah and the supernatural power of a perfect and a virtually perfect man. Now, this is not the miracles which the Quran is discussing. The Quran is discussing a very limited power given to the Prophet. Notice when it comes to Wilayah Takwiniyah, they themselves are now accepting that we cannot now determine what are the limits now. This is exactly the topic which I referred to. If you refer to the lecture number 2, if I'm not mistaken, where we discuss the urgent need to discuss Wilayah Takwiniyah academically, this is what I was referring to. That the scholars now have come up to a level that they don't know where to draw the line. Where is the limit of this Imam now? Imam, again, being the Prophet and the Imam, okay? Where is the limit of this Imam? Where is his power limited now? Where do you draw the line that, okay, from here now, this Imam doesn't have any authority anymore? They cannot determine anymore, okay? That's the biggest problem we are having with this whole discussion, okay? I hope you're getting a picture of what we are trying to discuss, okay? So those who are trying to put Wilayah Takwiniyah under the discussion of miracles, Wilayah Takwiniyah, the way it's being defined today, and Shaykh Mutahari was one example, at all there is no relationship between these two, okay? Now, what we want to discuss is the discussion on the miracles under these discussions. So these are the discussions we'll be having. There are around 8 to 9 discussions. Again, as I said, if we don't do it today, inshallah, in the next discussions we will complete this discussion, inshallah. So discussion number 1, we're going to define what's a miracle. Now, the reason we are going to define the miracle is to come and then distinguish that how different is it from the definition of Wilayah Takwiniyah, okay? This is discussion number 1. Discussion number 2 onwards are now the issues related to miracles, okay? So a person accepts the miracles of the prophets and the imams, alayhimus salam. The questions are the challenges which need to be sorted before we come and accept these miracles, okay? So discussion number 2. What are the quantity of these miracles? What are the number of these miracles being performed? When we come to the discussion, you will see what is happening. With time, we are seeing the number just increasing and increasing. Now, what is the actual number? A real research and academic research is required to even come and establish. And that's why you will notice that the progressive scholars, all of them have confined the miracle of the Holy Prophet to the Quran only. They say the Holy Prophet didn't bring any other miracle apart from the Quran. Okay, which personally I disagree with this opinion. But we have a serious issue with the number of the miracles. How many other miracles did the Prophet and the Imams bring? Okay, this is discussion number 2. Discussion number 3 are the additions and the interpolations in the riwayats of these miracles and the kiramaat. We'll give one example as we go further. You will notice that with time, the same hadith, which was 2-3 line, becomes a whole page, becomes 2 page, okay, becomes a whole chapter. Where are these ahadith coming in the later period, which the earlier scholars didn't have them? Okay, this is a question which needs to be sorted. Discussion number 4, which we want to have in regards to the miracles, is this is a huge issue, and that's why scholars really are struggling sorting out this problem, is that can the Prophet and the Imams have so many miracles while those recording those miracles are a few people? You see, some of these miracles were global phenomenon, okay? They were happening globally. So for example, the returning of the sun for Imam Ali alayhi salam when he did qadha of the prayers. This is a global phenomenon. This is not a particular mu'jiza and a miracle, a kirama which happens in one secluded place. No, it's a place happening globally. When the sun when the night comes in and then the night is returned and a day becomes again, it's everybody seeing it. You know, today when we have eclipses, everybody can see that, okay, now the sun has been blocked today. There is suddenly the sun is not visible anymore. At least you can see that. Okay? Now, numbers will increase those who report that report and that narration. But you come and see that the narrators are, you know, some secluded people, some unknown people, some majhul people. What's happening? Okay? This is a discussion within the scholars. Related to this discussion is then that when miracles are happening every day in, day out, if there are so many miracles the way they're discussing, then how come the narrations are solitary narrations? The akhbar ahad. Okay? If the akhbar ahad, how can you sort them out? And that's why as we go further, we will note, you will see that scholars to sort out that made up tawatur out of the riwayats. Okay? Discussion number 4. Discussion number 5, which again is a very important discussion. If we come and accept the number of miracles being mentioned for the Prophet and the Imams, then that means that the Prophet and the Imams were performing miracles on a daily basis. You wake up, you perform a miracle. You go in the afternoon, you see another miracle. Your evening, you see another miracle. At night, you see another miracle. That's how many miracles are being mentioned for the Prophet and the Imams. Is this in sync with the Quranic worldview? Okay, rather I would go further by saying that, is it in sync with the understanding of putting people in danger? Okay, you notice what has happened with Prophet Isa's alayhi salam's followers. The early Christians were not the followers of Trinity. Okay, according to research, it was later, a bit later, 1 or 2 centuries later, where they came and proposed that Isa should be made divine now. Okay, but where does this come from? One of the reasons is having those miracles. Okay, a prophet having such miracles where he can bring people back to dead, from people who are dead back to life. Okay, such miracles, curing the sick, these are miracles, you somehow feel that they cannot be done on a daily basis. Otherwise, people will start making these humans as divine now. And that's exactly what happened with the ghulat also. They started making and divinifying the imams also. And that is why we have the hadith from the Prophet that says that, "O Ali, I will not mention everything of all your merits because of the worry of some who will then make you divine then." And thus even the Prophet stops himself from mentioning these kind of narrations, because there's that fear which is there to be able to people to take up these personalities as divine. Okay, so this is another discussion. Discussion number 6 is the books used for mentioning all these miracles and kiramaat needs to be discussed academically. Okay, so the books like Basair al-Darajat and Madinatul Ma'ajiz, where majority of these miracles and kiramats come in, they need to be discussed academically in the Shia world. In the Sunni world, again, they have their own issues also. The 7th discussion, the authenticity of narrations. When we come to the discussion, you will notice that the narrations are filled with people who are unknown. Okay, majahil, the way they call them. They are all unknown narrators. How do you have miracles happening and kiramat happening on a daily basis, and the people reporting are unknown narrators altogether? Do you get me? Okay, so the narrations and the authenticity of those narrations needs to be established. Discussion number 8 is an interesting discussion. I will not go very much in detail into it, but it's a discussion which is beautiful to come and see that even within the time of the Imams, even during the time of the Imams, till the time of the 12th Imam alayhi salam, there was still dispute within the companions as to the issues of the merits of the Imams and the fadail of the Imams and all these supernatural acts which the Imams can do. Okay, when we come and discuss this, you will see the examples we want to give. And number 9 we will be mentioning some of the challenges with some of these riwayats of these miracles and kiramat. So notice half of the time gets only just explaining these discussions. My apologies again, but let's have patience. وَصَبْرُ الصَّبْرُ جَمِيلٌ. Yeah, so sabr is beautiful. Slowly, the way the Africans and the Kiswahilis say pole pole ni. You don't go haraka will just spoil everything. So we are going slowly, inshallah we'll reach to our destination, inshallah. So discussion number 1. The definition of miracle. Please, I would like your attention here. If I can sort this discussion, I have succeeded in these discussions, inshallah. I'm quoting this definition from Ayatollah Misbah's. Ayatollah Misbah Yazdi has a book called Amuzish Aqaid, which is commonly taught in the houses. If you come to the housa, it's a common book taught in theology. Now, it's been translated in English. It's called Theological Instructions. You can find it online also. On page number 112, he provides the definition of miracle. Please come with me so that you understand. Look at the components of the miracle. Look at the definition and the components within it. And then you come in, once you get the definition, then you come and distinguish it with Wilayah Takwiniyah. So he says, a miracle is an extraordinary act. Okay, this is not our discussion. So a miracle is an extraordinary act which is performed by a person who claims to be a prophet. I'm repeating, okay? Which is performed by a person who claims to be a prophet. Number two, it is rooted in God's will and used as a clue to prophet's true claim. So component 2 and component 4 are very important for us and related to our discussion. Notice, okay? A miracle is performed by a person who claims to be a prophet. Wilayah Takwiniyah, which is being presented today, is not like that. Look at the riwayats which are being presented as proofs. I don't know, it's just the Imam sitting and suddenly doing something, okay? As you go further, you will notice that a poor lady comes in the presence of the Imam and says, I'm poor, I'm feeling, my financial situation is bad, I can't sustain myself, and the Imam brings back her cows back to life. This has nothing to do with proving Imam's imamah, okay? Or the Prophet's prophethood. It's just the Imam just doing some random supernatural acts. So distinguish the difference, okay? And thus you cannot relate these two discussions together. A miracle is performed only when a prophet wants to claim his prophethood. So when he brings a message, the people come and reject that message. That prophet then brings a miracle to the people. Are you getting me? Okay? So, what is it used for? To prove the claim which he's making. So, he's making a claim that he's a prophet. To prove that claim, he presents the miracles. Wilayah Takwiniyah is not like that. Wilayah Takwiniyah is the Imam can do anything. The Imam meaning the Prophet and the Imam. I have to keep on repeating this, yeah? The Imam can do whatever he wishes. This is exactly what we read even with Ayatollah Mutahari also, yeah? Ayatollah Mutahari said what? Notice, he can do with the universe what he likes. This is not what miracles are. Okay? Miracles are only when a person is refuting your claim. Allah gives you permission to show that person a miracle. Now, as I said, when we come to subsequent discussions, we will come and show that is it Allah performing the miracles or it's the Prophet and the Imam performing the miracles. This is something we will come and discuss later, okay? Number one. Number two, very important, is miracles are time-based, are place-based, and it's limited to something. It's not the whole universe. You can't play around with the whole universe. You can't control the whole universe. No. Prophet Musa alayhi salam was given only a stick to convert it into a serpent and a snake. Not every stick could be converted into a snake. No. His own stick only Allah gave that permission that his stick should be converted. Can you see the difference, okay? It's not everything in nature with whatever Prophet Musa turns to and says, become a snake, becomes a snake. No. It's limited to his stick and serpent. And only limited during his period and time and place. I hope you're getting the difference, okay? This is, if you get this difference, then Wilayah Takwiniyah discussion becomes very irrelevant to the miracles which they are using it to prove. Okay, this is one definition which we used. Ayatollah Khouy makes it very more clear in his Siratul Najat, volume 3, page number 419. Though the questioner is asking about ghulu, but he's coming and discussing the whole issue of Wilayah Takwiniyah. So notice, okay, he comes and says وَأَمَّا الْوِلَايَةَ التَّكْوِينِيَّةِ. Okay, he's defining Wilayah Takwiniyah. He says فَهِيَ التصرف التكويني بالمخلوقات إنسانا كان أو غيره. Okay, a prophet or the imam comes and has control. Okay, he does tasarruf in the creation, in the external creation. Okay, be it a human, be it a non-human, a prophet comes in and the imam comes and controls it and does tasarruf in it and makes changes in it, whatever he wishes. Okay, now look at the reasoning. Okay, quickly he says وَيَدُلُّ عَلَيْهِ آيَاتٍ. Can you see now the way they are mixing the discussions? You are trying to prove that imam can change anything in the creation, but then you're giving example of miracles. It doesn't work. Miracles are very specific. Okay, so he gives the example of Musa alayhi salam and gives the example of Isa alayhi salam with bringing people back to life. Okay, now then he goes further. This again, his reasoning I disagree with, humbly I disagree with. Again, this is a reasoning which, if you were to start using this kind of reasoning, then you're opening up a Pandora's box then. Okay, he says, notice, he says that وبما أنه لا نحتمل أن يكون ذلك ثابت للأنبياء دون نبينا صلى الله عليه وآله. He says that if a miracle and if this authority is proved for other prophets, then it's impossible that our holy prophet also didn't have the same authority. Now this is where I come and disagree. Authority is given by the prophet, by Allah. Authority is not something which is acquired by the holy prophet. See, when it comes to spiritual stations and spiritual qualities of the holy prophet, that the holy prophet has to acquire it, and thus because the holy prophet is of the highest level, he's higher than every human being possible. Okay, thus he has to have the highest qualities possible. So whatever the qualities the previous prophets had, he has to have it in the highest form. Do you get me? But when it comes to authority, it's not the same. It's not like if Musa alayhi salam had one mu'jiza, then Isa alayhi salam has to have the same mu'jiza because he's higher than Musa. No, it didn't happen like that. Okay, and thus the same applies to our holy prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the miracle which is given to the holy prophet is not something which the previous prophets had to have. No, and that's why the Quran keeps on refusing now and again. We have sent the Quran, it's enough. We have sent the Quran, it's enough. Okay, we are not going to give you the miracles of the previous prophets. Not every miracle, and exactly the Quran keeps on repeating. The mushrikeen used to come, how come you're not bringing the miracles of the previous prophets, the physical miracles? And the Quran comes and says, no, we don't need it. Okay, in some places very categorically it comes and says we don't need to bring all those miracles. So the holy prophet is not being given everything what the previous prophets are being given in terms of authority and miracles. His station is highest, yes, but not his authority. It's like, if I can give you an example, Jibreel, okay, Jibreel, who is the highest of the angels, okay, his job is to deliver wahy to the holy prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, now that's his duty. But if, for example, the duty is given to Israel, okay, that angel of death, for example, the duty has been given to take people's souls. It doesn't mean that Jibreel also has to have the same authority also, because authorities are given by God. God decides who to give to the authority. Okay? It's not based on the station, rather it's based on the need of the time. I hope I'm making myself clear. It's the need of the time which makes it clear as to what should be given to the Prophet. Okay, and this is why I disagree with this very respectfully with Ayatollah Khoi's opinion. So now, he says because the other prophets had these qualities, these miracles, our Holy Prophet also has to have it. Now, because the Holy Prophet has it, he says, وَقَدْ ثَبَتَ أَنَّ عَلِيًّا عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ نَفْسُ النَّبِي صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ بِنَصِّ الْقُرْآنِ. Okay, the Quran says the Imam Ali is the nafs of the Holy Prophet in Surah Al Imran. So he says, because that is the case, and all the Imams are one. Now, this by itself requires discussion. Okay, I don't want to get into the discussion. He's just using very general statements to prove all this. He says, وَلَا فَرْقَ بَيْنَ الْأَئِمَّةِ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّلَامِ. You come to scholars, you will see the different opinions they have all together here. So the reasoning he's using is because all Imams are one, and Imam Ali is the nafs and the soul of the Holy Prophet. Thus, whatever the Prophet has, the Imams also have to have it. Okay? And thus, this is how he's proving Wilayah Takwiniyah. Now, this is not my discussion. The point I was trying to make is here. The reason I brought this discussion for miracles is here. Naam. الفرق بين الأنبياء والأئمة أن الأنبياء كانوا يفعلون ذلك لإثبات نبوتهم بالمعجزات. This is the statement. So that there's a difference between the Imams and the Prophets. He says the Prophets used to perform miracles because they wanted to prove their nubuwwah and their prophethood. Whenever they would make a claim that they are the prophets, they would be questioned, then they would bring miracles. This has nothing to do with Wilayah Takwiniyah, which we are discussing today. Rather, Ayatollah Khoi makes it himself clear. He says, وَأَمَّا الْأَئِمَّةِ فَكَانُوا لَا يَفْعَلُونَ ذَلِكَ إِلَّا فِي مَوَارِدْ نَادِرَةٍ. I'll repeat. Okay, this is the statement I want to emphasize upon. وَأَمَّا الْأَئِمَّةِ فَكَانُوا لَا يَفْعَلُونَ ذَلِكَ إِلَّا فِي مَوَارِدِ نَادِرَةٍ. The Imams also didn't used to perform the kiramaat except on very few occasions. This is our opinion also. That Imams didn't used to control the universe. They used to perform whenever Allah used to give the permission. That's how they used to perform it. And thus, on a very few occasions, wherever they needed it, where Allah required it, time required it, Allah allowed it to happen. Not every time and again that you say that they're controlling the universe, they're doing whatever they wish, the way they wanted. No, that's not the definition. Okay? Rather, it's done on very rare circumstances, on very rare occasions. Why? He goes further. He says, كما ورد ذلك في الأخبار. It's been reported in the riwayat. Why? Because وكان الناس مكلفين بمعرفتهم امتحانا من الله للأمة. The purpose was not for them to come and perform these supernatural acts morning, afternoon, day and night. No. The purpose was for them to come so that people know them and recognize the prophets and the Imams, connect with them. They are the ones who connect them to Allah then. The purpose of it, you see, the purpose of sending the prophets and the Imams also needs to be understood. They were not sent to do all these miracles. That you come and say that the Prophet performed 3,000 miracles. No. That means day in, day out, he was just performing miracles. Is that his job, his duty? I hope you're getting me where we are trying to go to. Okay? Ya Allah, my time. Okay, I will stop here. I wanted to actually go further with discussing even further issues, but the more I go into these discussions, they'll again take a longer discussion. So, I just discussed discussion number 1 today, but I hope I could clarify, okay? that what I wanted to make clear is this, that those who are using Wilayah Takwiniyah, the way it's being performed today, and linking it to miracles, there's no link between the two. Okay, and I presented definitions from Ayatollah Misbah Yazdi and from Ayatollah Khui, just to display that what is a miracle and how it's done. It's done on time-based, place-based, it's limited. Wilayah Takwiniyah being promoted today is day in, day out. Okay, inshallah, if we come further, I don't know if I can collect all this or not, but a person just needs to go in our qasidas and our marsiyas and nawhas and qasidas. You will notice how much madad is being asked from the imams today. That has no connection to miracles, no connection at all. You know, Mawla madad, you are this, you are that, you are this, you are that. This is no relationship with the whole discussion of miracles. If a person is using miracles as a proof to prove Wilayah Takwiniyah, then there's no link between the two. Okay, that's my conclusion. Let's pray to Allah to give us the tawfiq to be able to understand His religion the way He wants us to understand, and Allah should help all the oppressed throughout the world. And Allah, inshallah, pray to Allah that Allah do something with these oppressors who are just keeping on oppressing day in and day out, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.